what is likely to happen is we'll get a Republican House. I think we're going to get a Republican Senate. And then Biden will lean even more aggressively on the Department of Justice to try to exert his force and influence. Because just look at what 2023 is going to be like. Biden is going to have to run not as a president, if he runs, but as an anti-Trump activist. And that means all he's got is MAGA extremists, January 6th. Look at what's going on, all surrounding that. And frankly, it's not registering. As we are speaking, unfortunately, the stock market has been tanking yet again. It has moved down below 30,000 for the first time since December. And what have we been telling you? Biden is looking for an opportunity to turn this election to a referendum in some way on Donald Trump, to a referendum on abortion, to talk about anything other than the fact that they kept schools closed too long, the border being a disaster, the murder rate and violent crime rate overall skyrocketing under his watch, and the economy is at a 40-year effectively inflation high, and the stock market is lower than it was when Joe Biden took office. Again, if you want to have a good weekend, do not look at your 401k statements. But what's Biden out there saying, Buck? He's out there arguing that Republicans want to do away with the crime,
FBI.
The FBI.
We're the
FBI.
defund. After 2 years of them shouting, defund the police,
Yes.
and acting like total irresponsible lunatics to pander to the pro-crime segments of society in the Democrat Party, the left, the Soros prosecutors, etc., they now act like, oh, but you want to defund the FBI.
And I won't let any MAGA Republican take it away. Leader McCarthy talked about wanting a nation that's safe. Well, let's look at what Republicans have done to make it safe. They voted against virtually everything we've done to reduce crime and keep communities safe. The American Rescue Plan, it was when we first got in office, we passed it. You know, it was dying to do. An awful lot of mayors and governors and county executives, they didn't have a tax base because I was left with an economy that was in distress. So we said, here you go. We're going to give you this money so you can make sure you can keep your schools open. You can make sure you keep police departments open. Make sure you keep your hospitals open. Make sure you keep the fire departments open. And guess what? Every single Republican in the Congress voted against that. Every single Republican voted against it. Now, look, we're in a situation where now the MAGA Republicans are calling for defunding. They're defunding the FBI. Now, let me tell you something. I don't think, and I know some of you weren't happy with me, I didn't think we should defund the police. I never believed that and said so at the time. But I sure in hell don't think we should be funding the FBI either.
First of all, this idea that they're putting defund the police, it's the Republicans that are the real defunders now. No one's really actually trying to entirely defund the FBI. We're just sick of the FBI deep state elements trying to throw elections for the libs, rightfully so. And by the way, Clay, I also want to give a shout out. This was a Miranda Devine story. I've been saying for a long time, why don't we have more people who leave the FBI because of what's going on with the politicization? There are bombshell allegations by FBI Special Agent Steve Friend contained in a whistleblower complaint filed late Wednesday about the overzealous January 6th investigation and the threat of domestic terrorism being used effectively as a weapon against the right. This guy, who is a 12-year veteran of the FBI, a SWAT team member, was suspended, stripped of his gun, and escorted out of the FBI field office after complaining about that politicization. First of all, credit to this guy. Second of all, more of this. This is a big frustration for me. People need to not take orders from the deep state that they know break their oath to the Constitution.
Let's just compare January 6th political prisoners with what happened in North Dakota. Guy says he drove over a Republican because he was angry about his political beliefs, and he gets out $50,000 bail, doesn't have to pay, is only charged with vehicular homicide. Buck, we need to get Julie Kelly on again to get the exact number, but somewhere around 80 people who are still imprisoned, many of them unable to talk to anyone else, in solitary confinement, locked up in D.C. political prison. The fact that this isn't a bigger story is just, it blows my mind that we don't talk about it enough. It's crazy.
It's important for everyone to also remember that, holding someone in remand is not supposed to just be we don't like this person. It's not supposed to be just a punishment that you add on to things. You hold someone in remand, the judge will say, or you set bail super high if you think they're a flight risk or an actual risk to public safety out there again. Neither of those conditions any reasonable person would think apply to the January 6th defendants, who include entirely nonviolent, even on January 6th, nonviolent offenders. But the judges in this case are left-wing activists and have said things like, we're scared they'll start another insurrection. So effectively, they have held people in solitary confinement without bail for nonviolent crimes because they think that someone alone released is going to be able to start an insurrection. This is political abuse. It is lunacy. And I mean, I really think, and Miranda Devine, credit to her for writing this piece in the New York Post, but this agent, Stephen Friend, this has been one of my big criticisms. I mean, I'll tell you, when I was in the CIA, I didn't like stuff that was going on in the Obama administration. So that was part of my reason for getting out. It wasn't my only reason. There were a lot, but I was like, I don't like the direction this is taking at all. You don't just get to stay there. NYPD guys, I love so many of the men and women of the NYPD, but the ones who were going in and arresting bar owners because they were violating COVID protocols, it's not all, the paycheck is not worth anything, my friends.
This is where so many guys get handcuffed because they're trying to serve out their pension time. And it's, this, they're just trying to make sure that they get in their requisite years so they can ride off into the sunset, and they're worried about rocking the boat to such an extent. And on some level, if you are being forced to do things, or you are seeing things that are being done that are indefensible in terms of justice, in terms of fairness, first of all, we need a brand new FBI director, right? We need to just clean out the entire top of the
entire
FBI.
Leadership. Yeah, the entire top shelf of the FBI needs to go.
All gone. And then maybe you can start to have some faith in the Department of Justice and the way that they're using the FBI. But, Buck, I think what is likely to happen is we'll get a Republican House. I think we're going to get a Republican Senate. And then Biden will lean even more aggressively on the Department of Justice to try to exert his force and influence. Because just look at what 2023 is going to be like. Biden is going to have to run not as a president, if he runs, but as an anti-Trump activist. And that means all he's got is MAGA extremists, January 6th. Look at what's going on, all surrounding that. And frankly, it's not registering, right? We talked about this. I don't think it's a coincidence that when they put Biden back out, Buck, and he made that disastrous speech right before, was it the Thursday before Labor Day, when he was in Philadelphia and he was brightly lit with the red backdrop and everything else. Basically, Republicans have been surging, if you look at the polls, since essentially that actually ended up happening.
I think it's important for everyone to see here. And if you were to listen to this show, go back for the last 18 months and go back to what Clay and I were saying separately on our syndicated shows, at the very start of the Biden administration, before that, I think what you would see is that everything that we, and there are many others too, said was going to happen based on the policies of the Democrats has happened. It has been bad for the American people. There has been suffering because of the decision-making of Democrats that we warned about. And so what this has done is it's created a political dynamic in the country right now where Republicans, notice what my mantra is, Clay, right? And what I should say ours here, I think, on the show, to be fair, because we talk about these topics so much, the economy, immigration, crime, right?
Yep.
Those are things that we want different decision-making. We focus on policies that we don't like that Democrats have made. Democrats focus on they hate Republicans.
Yes.
It actually really has turned it. The reason for the existence right now of the Democrat Party in its own mind is that our democracy is in peril. The republic is at stake. Trump is basically a modern-day Hitler. He just hasn't had the chance to wield full authority yet. And anything that they do to stop him is justified, and anyone who supports him is evil. That is the mainstream. This is why when people say, oh, but Biden's speech with the red lights and the whole, Emperor Palpatine vibe that he had there, that was really just being a vessel for what I think is now mainstream Democrat thought, which is Republicans are evil. I think Democrats make stupid decisions, and you and I sit here and make the case every day as to why that is true, and it is. They think we are awful.
And the other aspect of this, and we need to keep hammering it home, is if you're out there and you think when Trump is gone that this is going to vanish, you're wrong. They will do this to anyone who potentially follows Trump, whether it's Ron DeSantis, Ted Cruz, Nikki Haley. Doesn't even matter who that person is that is rising up to be the national figurehead of the Republican Party. This is branding. They have decided that Republicans are evil. It's not just Trump. They will transfer that lethality, that anger, that venality. All of it will get pushed over to whoever is the next candidate. Just be prepared for it.